Alright, here today we have a 1v1 between Exo and Andot. Andot playing Terran, Exo playing Protoss. Both of them did pick their races, so each other know what's going on. This is one in a series of King of the Hill battles that I was observing in. This one is the third in a row that Exo will be playing as King of the Hill, which means he's defeated two other players previous to this and is kind of on a roll. Andot seeing if he can dethrone Exo here. Exo generally plays Terran, but he also plays a very strong toss. Looks like standard openings out of both of the players here. No fancy stuff. Both of them are out scouting. I have it on 2 times speed here just to speed through the beginning of the game a little bit. Exo throwing up his gas. Both players have scouted one location that the other player isn't at, and now they're starting to aim for the second location. Little strangers in the night passing between those two scouts as they move on their way to try and find where the other player's base is. Andot throwing up his second barracks, and Exo throwing up his first cybernetics core. We have a little battle ensuing out here between a probe and an SCV. And they're off to take it somewhere else. Exo not really being able to gather much from his scouting. He did see the 2 barracks on the hill, I believe. No, he didn't get to see the 2 barracks on the hill. The Marine prevented him from seeing it. While Andot did get to see quite a bit of information here at Exo's base. He saw the gateway, the cybernetics core researching warp gate. He sees it spinning, so he knows it's researching. Of course, a natural step for any Protoss player at this point in the game. And he sees the second gateway going up. Now we see Exo moving out a probe here to build a nexus. This is as you'll notice, a fast expand for a Protoss player. Fairly risky, but he hasn't seen really any display of force coming down the hill with it, with his probe he's hiding over there. Now, Andot's over here checking around for proxy pylons, see if there's any in the general area that he may be warping units into later. Forward place pylon. Now we see Andot going at Ghost Academy. When I've seen him play Terran before, he generally does like to go for a ground mix versus a Protoss army with a few Ghosts and upgraded Marines and Marauders. He's built a bunker on this hill here. Lost Temple is a great map for Terran players to easily defend their expansion in particular, though a Zerg player with some creep right here can pretty much poke anything coming through that passageway with a spine crawler. We have the SCV versus Probe battle round 2. The SCV is making a break for it as the Probe has generated all of his shields. Now, as you can see, both players don't really have much of an army going on right now, and it's quite a few minutes into the game, 6 minutes, neither player has pushed very much. Now, the difference between their income is a little significant. Here, Exo has built up, and he's been boosting and creating probes the entire time. He pretty much hasn't stopped, and there he goes to fill his first expansion with probes, and starts boosting out of his nexus here. Now, he only has 1 gas up so far. He's building an observer to try and scout out what Andot's doing. Neither player really knows how much of an army or what is going on in each other's base right now, as last time Andot was in Exo's base, he saw that second gateway coming up. He hasn't seen the robo, he hasn't seen the third gateway, which it looks like Exo's going for a 3-gate robo here, at least initially, and he hasn't seen the expansion at all. Now, in terms of supply, they're pretty much dead even. 1 at 12, 1 at 10 in army supply. Andot saying golden there, another one of the observers was lagging the game very slightly. Alright, so here Exo is getting a good feel for what's going on in the Terran player's base. Scouting it out a bit, seeing all the buildings that are going up. He sees the factory being built here. Meanwhile, still pumping out those probes. He's now up to 38 to 24 SCVs. Really out-resourcing, the Terran player here. Andot throwing up some detection to prevent observers from really gathering too much information around his base. It's always a good idea to throw up a few missile turrets, if for nothing else, to have them have to actually pay attention when moving their observer around instead of just kind of floating it through the enemy player's base. And the missile turret finishes and takes out that observer. Starport going up here. I'm not sure that Exo was able to see that. Let's look. Yeah, he saw it going up. It's probably safe to assume at this point that Andot is going for some type of ground mix, as all the units he's seen so far are Ghost, Marines, Marauders, and probably with medevacs to back it up. A very common, very solid build versus a Protoss ground mix army, as EMP not only takes down sentry shields, it also dispels their energy. It also knocks down Protoss shields. Here, Exo trying to get a little bit more information, scouting around to see if there's any extra buildings he hasn't seen so far. Andot starting up his command center. He's going to move into his natural here in a moment. Now here we see a fairly rarely used ability, at least in this situation, or in most games. Andot uses his Ghost EMP ability, which, in addition to doing the other abilities that we talked about, removing shields and draining energy, it does remove or reveal cloak on enemy units, so he was able to save the energy from his orbital command and use his Ghost energy, which will probably be back by the time the next fight starts. Now Exo has moved up and taken out the destructible rock here at his rich mineral field next to his base. And he does have a unit on each one of the Xel'Naga towers, so he has good vision in the middle of the field in case should something arise and he sees an army coming. He also has a pylon, well, at least one pylon, all around the edge of his base to have good vision of anything that's landing there, such as a medevac drop or anything like that. Now we are going to see a medevac drop shortly here out of Andot. He's going to pick up these Marauders and he's going to move them over here and take out this robotics facility. Now at the same time, Exo is going to be trying to push down into the natural expansion of Andot and see if he can take out what he's got in here. Now he threw a probe away to see if Andot had any siege tanks. He hadn't seen any, but he could have gotten one by now. Now here the battle starts up. No Guardian shields have gone up. And Andot kiting up the hill. There. Oh, there are the Guardian shields. And a pretty equivalent exchange here. Each of them losing a good amount of their army. But Marauders with Hill are going to force Exo back. He's going to lose most of his army there. But look at the difference in probe versus SCV count. It's a fairly large difference. He's definitely out-resourcing the Terran player here. He has his second expansion up. And if we see, if we take a look here at their income, nearly 1,400 minerals versus 500. 500 gas versus 200. So he has double the gas income and a little over, well right now, 2 times the mineral income. I'm willing to bet Andot just dropped some, I don't know, he just actually got out to his second expansion and filled his mineral line with SCVs. Now here we have a Colossus kind of walking up and seeing what's going on in Andot's base, seeing if there's any siege tanks there still, as they can take a hit from a siege tank and still regenerate its shields, have no lasting damage left on it. Now Exo's up to, let's see, 5 warp gates now.